Hello everybody, here Getpack 5, and I am bringing you a bit of a more special video of Rome 2. So this is not gonna be any like gameplay or like battle gameplay or campaign gameplay. It's not gonna be a new campaign right now, but it's gonna be a small tutorial on which units, which factions you can pick through, and which units are good against what and stuff like that. So this is most of all advice for multiplayer if you plan on playing a lot of multiplayer, or also it might help you out in the campaign, but if you just play like custom battles or something, then it might also help you. So first of all, first we're gonna begin with the easy step, that is to divide all factions into a separate piece or into a separate faction type. So first we have this faction type that is number 1, and those are the powerhouse factions. And the powerhouse factions are the factions that are currently like the most easiest to play and also most powerful. Most of all, the most powerful, that a player that knows how to play them can easily dominate everything. So if you see them, so we have so one of the powerhouse factions is Macedon. Another is Epirus. So Macedon and Epirus are very like each other, but Macedon has just much more bang at the buck and a much bigger fist than Epirus. The only advantage that Epirus does have is, of course, elephants, but we're gonna talk through that afterwards. But as you can see, we have Macedon, Epirus, and Egypt as powerhouse factions, and Macedon and Egypt are pretty much very evenly matched. And then we go to the Roman factions. That is, of course, Rome, and yes, Rome is like it's in between a powerhouse faction and a normal or another faction. But Rome is actually pretty decent. So yes, it's got a lot of infantry, by the way. And then we have the barbarian factions, and the barbarian factions are professionals at tearing up each other or Romans. At least, as you can see, people who do not have hoplites nor super well heavy cavalry or pikemen. So we have the Arvenii as one of them. This definitely the strongest. We have the Suebii also, the one that I've been playing campaign with, got some pretty good units. And then we've got the Iceni, of course. They are also decent. I actually almost never played them, but these three factions, the Iceni, Arvenii, and Suebii, are the three barbarian factions. Then we got the kind of like eastern factions, Parthia and Pontus. So what's the difference? Well, Parthia, Pontus is much more of like an has more of an infantry approach, or like more of a Greek approach to Eastern warfare than Parthia does. So Pontus is like, of course, a mix of Eastern cataphract and horse archer warfare and Hellenic like pike Greek warfare. So Parthia's got it's like both of these are skirmish factions, so they really rely on archers and cavalry and foot archers and horse archers and cavalry, most of all foot archers, and also some of these like mercenary hoplites, or here hoplites, Pontic swordsmen, and the Pontus even has some bronze shield pikes, so that's good. But yeah, and they rely on devastating cavalry. And then last but not least are the factions that I like to call the balanced factions, or the cost-effective factions also. And those are pretty much Athens and Carthage. So like why is Carthage like these two factions are, in some way they are the weakest, in some way not. So these two factions can beat everything. They have their soldiers. They don't really have a full-on strength actually. Yeah, of course the Carthage has Sacred Band. Athens doesn't really have anything unique, but yeah, so the cost-effective factions. Yeah, you really need to be a good. If you are a good player of the game and can really master the units, and you bring the exactly good choice of troops to the correct opponent, then you can defeat them. So with that done, then we'll start out by going to the first two factions, Arveni and Athens. So Arveni are one of the most powerful factions in the game. So yes, they are barbarians. Barbarians are I don't really like barbarian factions, but that's because I am normally stuck with the Rome 1 mechanic that barbarians suck. You must be a pro to win with barbarians online. So, but they are much better now. Even though yes, they are unfortunately very powerful. So the Arveni I don't have that many that have big of a choice of troops. So let's check out how good the generals are. So they have spear nobles. Spear nobles stink. Spears for barbarians are no. Noble horse, it's fine. It's like this. And then the general is Oatzone. So and also Oatzone general is always the best. And then the Gauls or the Arveni have very few melee infantry, but they are super effective. So Celtic warriors are useless. Naked warriors are really good. Are very good just like a normal unit, like if you can't afford. But Oatzone, they are by far the most powerful melee unit in the game. And if you don't know, the Oatzone can easily just slash through Praetorian Guard. They are not Praetorians, they are Praetorian Guards. So Oatzone is definitely the most powerful melee infantry in the game. So yes, that's great. For spears, the Gauls got the spear nobles who can hold themselves out. Like there's some decent spearmen, but it's even easier to just go for spear warriors. But the strengths of the Gauls are their Oatzone and their cavalry. So heavy horse, light horse, nope, noble horse. That's what you're gonna go for. Noble horse is the second or third best melee cavalry in the game. So melee cavalry is cavalry that have shields and short spears or swords or axes or whatever you can say. And melee cavalry is very weak in the charge, but is very strong in prolonged fights. And they have much higher at melee attack and melee defense than shock cavalry, like for example an Athenian Hippias Lancer. So shock cavalry is most of all useful for doing. Oh wait, by the way, I'm just gonna talk about that later. But noble horse is like the second to best melee cavalry in the game. So you should really try to bring them out. They are one of the Gauls or the Arveni's second strengths. And then we have, well, so that's pretty much the strength of the Gauls. They do have some decent artillery that they can use. What are the weaknesses of the Gauls? Well, if you can say, the weakness is that they don't really have units that are really like Amici. Like the Oatzone can really easily be torn apart by pikes or even missiles, almost like it. And also missiles, they lack a lot of missiles. So the best thing they got are Celtic slingers. That's it. They have no mercenaries, they have nothing special. Well, so the Arveni, with their Oatzone, they can slash through any Roman infantry in the game. And also their noble horse can slash through any other cavalry than the Aspis companion cavalry. Or maybe a lucky companion cavalry or cataphract also. An unlucky. But if you charge against one of the best shock cavalry in the game and they get the charge and everything, then they will die. But Arvenia, you really need to engage the enemy infantry. If it isn't a faction that doesn't have pikes, then you should engage their infantry right from the start. If you're fighting a pike faction like Athens or Macedon or something, you're pretty much screwed if the skill level is equal. But fighting a Roman faction, for example, like Rome has nothing to stop the Arvenii, so that's great. Oop. Athens then. Over to Athens. So they are one of the cost-effective factions. So what do I mean by that? Just because they don't have really a big strength. They do have so what are their strengths and what are they good at? Well, they have some great spearmen. These mercenary veteran hoplites are very powerful, as you can see. They are pretty powerful. They are not the best hoplites in the game, but they are good, and they should definitely be used. And they do also have hoplites. That is great. And and then a very good strength that they do have is they have pikes, and that is great, because a faction with pikes are very hard to beat. So having a few pikemen in your army will easily tear apart any army, and some veteran hoplites too. And missiles, Athenians rock on missiles. Mercenary Cretan archers, yes, very powerful units indeed. And Rhodian slingers. It differs between these two if you wanna go for tearing apart units in range with a bit more anti-armor unit, a bit more against armor. Yeah, like I think that the archers do less armor piercing than the slingers, but slingers go for range, archers go for like killing power. And they do have a decent shock cavalry too. The Hippeus Lancer, they are good. Even though they're one of the weakest shock cavalries in the game, they are decent. So that's what you should go for. No, like the citizen cavalry are not worth it. They're definitely not worth it. Tarantan cavalry are good. So what are the weaknesses of the Athenians? Well, the thorax swordsmen, and also the melee cavalry, and cavalry in general. But Athenians are pretty weak in almost anything, but their spears are pretty good. So the Athenians are pretty good in kind of any situation. They can be good against anything, but you need to pick your army wisely. And then we go over to Carthage and Epirus. So Carthage is almost the same thing as Athens, but it's more powerful. So what are Carthage's strengths? Well, their Libyan infantry are very powerful. No Iberian swords, they are useless. Secret Band, yes, they are very good hoplite units. They should form a big core of your army, a big part of your army yes. But also Libyan infantry are very, very powerful. They should never be underestimated. They're so strong. They are a very strong swordsman. The African pikemen are also a very good thing because they are pretty good standard pikemen. They are not the best. They are not top quality pikemen, but they're pretty good to be a standard pikeman. So African pikemen you should really go for. And then for missiles, the Balearic slingers are great, as the Rhodian slingers, but Balearic slingers are great. And cavalry-wise, Carthage has nothing you can use. Carthaginian cavalry is like useless. The only good quality cavalry Carthage has is noble cavalry, but it's almost easier to go for mercenary Iberian cavalry because they are very cheap. Not online, but one good strength that they do have is to make up with their cavalry weakness. Carthage has elephants, so using them to clear out enemy cavalry will be very crucial. But Carthage, of course, they are pretty weak in spears. They're pretty powerful. In hoplites, pikemen they are not strong. Missiles they are okay. If you have a lot of Balearic slingers, you can really tear up anybody. But you shouldn't be expecting to win the cavalry fight only if you bring elephants, and the elephants are really weak in this game, even though. But Carthage, you should really go for a very balanced army, but also if you do not win the missile advantage, you are dead. Epirus. Okay, so what is Epirus strength? So Epirus, of course, like a powerhouse, very powerful indeed. So so two of the strengths are that their pikes are top class quality. Hellenic Royal Guard are one of the best pikes in the game, very powerful. And then as cavalry they do have the Hellenic Royal Cavalry, one of the most powerful shock cavalry in the game. I don't think they can beat Macedonian Companion Cavalry, but they are very powerful. But another humongous strength they do have is Aspis Companion Cavalry, the far by best melee cavalry in the game. They use the swords and hack through anything and throw spears when they need to. And they do have elephants if you really want to, but most of all, what you should go when using Epirus is the Hellenic Royal Guard. Put some. You're very weak in like the units that can help the pikes, but you do have some archers and some sheep skirmishers to protect your pikes, and you will have some like cavalry. Your cavalry can easily defeat any cavalry in the game. But your weaknesses are pretty much like skirmishing and melee infantry fights. Then over to a few others. So Iceni and Macedon. Iceni, another one of these barbarian factions. Yes, so the Iceni are pretty good at tearing up factions that rely on melee infantry. So the Iceni have one of their strengths where they say that their strengths are chariots. Well, chariots stink. They suck. They suck. You do never use chariots. They get slaughtered. If you go up with a side chariot from Pontus against a Praetorian cavalry or a companion cavalry, they will tear you apart. Chariots are bad. Only if you get them behind a phalanx and just bomb, destroy them, then they're worth it, but they are expensive. They're not worth it anyway. So don't you ever use chariots, by the way. But what do they have for strengths? Well, for melee infantry, then they have tons of melee infantry. They have for a sheep melee infantry, you can go for painted ones. But like their most powerful melee infantry is heroic nobles, because they are like they are very much like the champions of the champions of Gaul, or whatever they are. The Arverni Oathsworn. They are pretty much like them, but a bit weaker. But then they do have ambushers, and I think they can hide in battle. I don't know really, but the ambushers are very powerful too. I'm gonna check actually. Oh come on, encyclopedia. Oh, what the hell? Yes, guerrilla deployment. So yes, they can deploy very close to enemy lines. So they are kind of guerrillas. So ambushers and heroic nobles and even painted ones are pretty powerful. Spearmen, no, not really, not that good. Then for cavalry, then they do have some pretty good scout riders, but also heroic riders who are pretty close to noble horse, but weaker. And yes, chariots are not their strength. So what are the weaknesses of the Iceni? Well, their missiles are so bad. One skirmisher and one slinger, just like the standard class. Nope, I can't believe that. Even though the Briton slingers are better than normal slingers, I think, then they're not really that good. So Britons, Iceni are really good for like ambushes and stuff, like being very tricksy with your opponent, because if you fight Arverni, you need to use stealth and ambushes and the right amount of army, right assortment of troops to beat them, because they are better than your troops in any way possible. Macedon. Okay, Macedon is one of the by far most powerful factions in the game. Just look at what they got. They got foot companions, who are the most powerful pike unit in the game, together with the Hellenic Royal Guard. For spearmen, they got shield bearers, also one of the most powerful hoplites in the game, after like the Royal Spartans. Then they have some pretty powerful melee infantry, the Royal Peltasts, and they are like, yeah, I can say that Macedon is very weak in melee infantry, but those Royal Peltasts should not be underestimated. They can really hack any melee infantry unit through. But Macedon has some really good pikes. For a normal pikeman, you have the thorax pikes, pretty cheap and effective. And missiles, they are unbeatable. Look at that. Rhodian slingers and Cretan archers, or some ship slingers or javelins. That's what you should go for. And for cavalry, well, shock cavalry, companion cavalry. Yes, one of the best shock cavalrymen in the game. And Aspis companion cavalry, one of the best things you can ever have. And you have also some pretty cheap missile cavalry, so that's good. So the final thing is, what's Macedon's real weakness? Well, Macedon has no real weakness. The only weakness is melee infantry, but anywhere else, then it is just build. If you say this build, just have a foot companion general, make like, yes, 1 foot companion, like 3 thorax spikes, maybe a few shield bearers or something, I don't know, but yeah, just take advantage of your most powerful pike unit in the game, these Royal Peltas, sometimes your shield bearers, your companion cavalry and Aspis companion cavalry. No faction has those but Epirus. So yes, really put them to use. Parthia and Pontus. Okay, the 2 eastern factions. So Parthia. Parthia is a very weak faction in some ways. So what are the strong as well? The elite, like, they have some very cheap and cost-effective missile units. Like the elite Persian archers are pretty powerful, and yes, they are very, very good. So Parthian missiles, you should really focus on missile infantry, and also shock cavalry. Eastern Cataphracts or Royal Cataphracts are okay, because I think that Royal Cataphracts are the best shock cavalry in the game. That doesn't mean that you going with a Royal Cataphract can just end up beating an Aspis companion cavalry, because I don't think you will, because they are shock cavalry, and they do have some decent melee cavalry. Noble blood cavalry is not really that good. Horse archers, yes, they sound great. You might be using like 1 or 2, but they are useless. They are completely useless. Use missile infantry much better. So what is Parthia's strengths then? Well, their strength is actually using a lot of missiles and using a lot of archers and a lot of these cataphracts, with support of like mercenary hoplites or Parthian swords. So that's Parthia's strength. Horse archers are the other most powerful horse archer faction, but it's not really their strength. Pontus, a really interesting faction. So Pontus got the Bronze Shield pikemen. They are very powerful pikes. They are a good guard pikemen. Not as good as Hellenic Royal Guard and foot companions, but they're pretty powerful. Yes, this is one of their strengths. They have some pretty cheap missiles, so they're definitely a skirmish faction. The melee cavalry is awful. Pontic Royal cavalry are actually very strong, actually. Side chariots, don't bother with them. So, Pontus, what are their weaknesses? Well, infantry is a real weakness of Pontus. They are not good at infantry. They don't have a guard infantry, only a normal infantry. Spears are pretty bad, because the melee infantry and spear infantry are just like a holding force. They're just a force to prevent your enemy to reach your butcher force. Your butcher force that will really do the job will be your bronze shield pikes, your powerful missiles, and your good cavalry. So Pontus is a very interesting faction indeed. Over to Egypt and Rome. So Egypt, also one of definitely the most powerful faction together with Macedon. So Egypt also has, so what are Egypt's strengths? Well, look at this. This is a big difference from Macedon. So melee infantry, Egypt is the best Hellenic faction in infantry, because Egypt has every kind of melee infantry. They both have royal peltas that Macedon has. They have some very cheap Egyptian infantry. They have some Galatian swords, thorax swords. They have also Galatian Royal Guard are a force to be reckoned with. They can slash down Roman legionnaires, by the way. I'm just saying, they can do that. They are pretty evenly matched to a Praetorian almost, but so these Galatian Royal Guards are a force to be really reckoned with. And also the Hellenic Royal Guard are a super powerful unit also, equally strong as the foot companions. And missiles, they have a pretty big variation of missiles, but Cretan archers and Rhodian slingers too. And then Egyptians do have Ptolemaic cavalry and citizen cavalry as their best in the classes. Well, Ptolemaic cavalry is a good unit, a pretty good unit, but they can't stand up to the Macedonian cavalry or Epirot cavalry. And their biggest weakness is actually that they don't have Aspis companion cavalry, but they do all have elephants to support them, so that's great. But their strengths are that there's no other powerhouse faction that has so good melee infantry as them. Their pike infantry is definitely a force to be reckoned with. Missiles are not as great, and the cavalry is not that good, but elephants are good. Yes. And the weaknesses are pretty much their spears, their cavalry, and also the chariots. Rome. Okay. Rome. The faction that people get most interested in the game. Because it's Rome, of course. So Rome, okay. Rome is gonna be it's a great faction. So what is Rome good against? Well, Rome is really good against cutting through powerhouse factions or factions like Carthage and Athens that don't have anything to stand up against the Roman troops, like most of the pike factions. And Rome really destroys Parthians too. So Rome has, you can choose between like the sheep hastati are very good, they're pretty cheap. You have some Triarii, some very decent spearmen like hoplites almost. And then for melee infantry you have a lot to pick up. You have legionnaires, you have legionary cohorts. Legionary cohorts are pretty cheap and cost effective, very powerful swords. And you do have veteran legionnaires. I don't really like them. Armored legionnaires are very good because they are a legionnaire, but they have so high armor, 85 armor. Evocati cohort are also very powerful. Eagle cohort can also be used like one of them, but if you see Praetorian Guard, they are so powerful. There's built like 4 of them in an online battle. They cut through everything. They are immune to arrows, as well as the armored legionnaires. No arrows can even kill them. They are by far one of the most powerful infantrymen in the game, behind from the Old Zone. But Praetorian Guards, like, maybe you can, like, if you go, I recommend that you go for, let's say, a few armored legionnaires and then like 1 Praetorian Guard. And missiles, they got some variation. They got auxiliary Syrian archers and some Balearic slingers. Shock cavalry they're really bad at, but melee cavalry, look at this. They got the sheep and fast agile equite. They've got the auxiliary cavalry, one of the unique units, and 1 pretty good cavalryman. And also the Praetorian cavalry, very powerful indeed. And some elephants if you want to play with them. But what is Rome's strength? Well, their strength is that they are one of the only factions that has a lot of melee infantry, like a lot, tons of them. And they are very cost effective and powerful. And also very much arrow resistance. And they got a very good assortment of melee cavalry. So they are pretty much a lot of troops. Their weaknesses are their missiles, their spears, and their cavalry also. But those are pretty good actually. Then the two last, Sparta and Suebi. So Sparta, an infantry faction. Sparta is pure infantry. Spartans, Spartans, Spartans. So as you can see, spear infantry, Royal Spartans and Heroes of Royal Spartans are the most powerful hoplite unit in the game, and can even and I think they can tear through Praetorian Guards. So they're really powerful. They are a force to be reckoned with. Even Spartan hoplites are the most powerful unit that can be called a normal hoplite, and they are not that expensive. So bring out a ton of Spartan hoplites, also very good, and they have a very powerful assortment of Spartan pikes. So a few, like 1 or 2 Spartan pikes with a few of these, or with a few Royal Spartans and Spartan hoplites, can tear through opponents. They do have some cavalry, but like, why do Spartans use cavalry? With Sparta, you might go for these slingers, helot slingers, but it's most of all going for these hoplites. So Sparta's strength is they are a very infantry focused faction, really good armor on the troops, and really powerful. Yes, and some good pikes too. And they got some very bad carry, but Sparta is really a hard faction, but it's a very good too. Suebi then, I have actually played with them a long campaign. And by the way, I've actually played a long campaign with Sparta too. I'm actually playing it right now, but I've ended the Suebi right now. But Suebi, so they got the Sword Masters, who are a weaker version of the Ozone of Arvenii. And they got the Berserkers, of course. They are they are a unit with much less armor and defense than the Sword Masters, but they have great attack, and they have a lot of good abilities, making them very powerful. And spears, nope. For missiles, they do have a great unit, that's the Longbow Hunters, one of the best archer units in the game. And and they also have the cheapest raiders in the game, so you can really spam them out. So Suebi, what are the strengths? Well, there are Swordmasters, Berserkers, and also the Longbows, and the Noble Raiders and Scout Raiders. But they're pretty weak spears and pretty weak cavalry too. So that's it. So I'm going to go to the second part very soon. So I'm back from the break, and so part 2 then, over to that. So so this time now we're gonna go over which unit or which kind of units. So let's go over with Egypt, maybe. So or Macedon. So first, oh wait, Carthage may be easy. Oh, what else? But so here we go. So first of all, you have the generals, and that's I'm not gonna talk about that. But then we have the melee infantry. Melee infantry are units that have either axes or swords, and those units are very good at hacking through units in melee, like man-to-man fight, one-on-one. They hack through anything. So that's melee infantry pretty much. Units with swords, they hack through anything in one-on-one. Spear infantry, what are they good at? Well, of course, spear infantry are very good. Some of the spear units who are called hoplites have very great defensive skills. But so spear units are very great at defense. So they are really good at holding a line for a while. They are very weak at they kill pretty slow, but they are very resistant to almost everything. Yes, so they are very resistant spear infantry, and they're very good against cavalry. They're the best infantry against cavalry, or what did I just say? Then we have pike infantry. By the way, spear infantry are actually pretty slow, so most of them have the rapid advance that makes them very quick. Pike infantry. Okay, so pike infantry are units with very long spears. They can form the pike phalanx, and that means that they have their pikes down and they are marching in a blob in a big blob, and that means that that any single unit that comes in front of them will get shredded to pieces. Like if you see an African pikeman will shred a sacred band or something. So anything that comes in front of a phalanx will be killed. It's a steamroller, and phalanxes must be together in a big group, or else. So the easy way to beat a phalanx, it's really scary meeting them, but it's not that hard. It's only just using a unit to fix them in place, and a cavalry unit or a melee, like a melee infantry from behind, when they're not forming to pikes, will really shred them apart. And arrows and missiles will also shred them apart. Then we have the missile infantry, and that's pretty much clear. So we have the javelins. They do a lot of damage, but they have a very short range. We have the archers. We have the archers. So archers don't have a really great range, but they are very accurate and very good. So they are really shred apart anything that's in the range. Slingers have a great range, the best range of any units in the game, and are very good against armored units. Shock cavalry. This is the complicated stuff. Shock cavalry. Shock cavalry are cavalry that do not have shields, but very long lances, and with that means that when they charge, in the charge they are super tremendously powerful. So hammer and anvil charge, when you charge a unit from behind when it's fixed with an infantry, charging an infantry unit from behind can really shred it apart with a noble cavalry, and charging other cavalry. So getting the charge, so with shock cavalry, if you get charged, it's game over. You always need to charge with shock cavalry. It's no other way to use them. So they are very devastating on their charge. But if you charge infantry from behind, then you can't just stay in a prolonged melee. Then we have melee cavalry. So melee cavalry are the opposite of shock cavalry. So melee cavalry have a awful charge, but after that, melee cavalry are not that quick and decisive as shock cavalry, but they are very good at prolonged battles. So if they fight a shock cavalry, then if the shock cavalry does not destroy them in a charge, then the melee cavalry can easily just hack them down with their superior melee skills, because the shock cavalry has got some short swords, the melee cavalry got shields and a sword skill. So use melee cavalry when you're fighting shock cavalry to fight shock cavalry, if you know it's gonna be a long battle, and use them to help out in an infantry fight. Missile cavalry are pretty much cavalrymen that hurl missiles or shoot missiles. Elephants, yes, they are elephants. They can really steamroll units, but they are very easily killed by units. So that's pretty much it for this thing. Now I'm going to go through the next part. Part 3. So maybe you thought about battling someone or something. So in multiplayer, by the way, so right here I have an example: Macedon versus Egypt. So Egypt, what is like Egypt's pretty good build up? So what is a good build up for Egypt? Well, I'm just making this like what the AI maybe, or what should be a kind of good build up for Egypt. Yeah, I'm just building up a bit. So this is kind of a good, like, standard maybe build up for Egypt. I say you can't afford this on the normal game, but so 3 Hellenic Royal Guard, they are really good at killing any infantry you meet. Galician Royal Guard and Galician Swordsmen are very good melee infantry, can really slash through other infantry. They will really outflank you. Rhodian Slingers to pepper you with slings. And Ptolemaic Cavalry, so decent cavalry, and elephants always. Maybe not, but... So if you're so this is kind of like a standard Egyptian build-up. And as Macedon, what should you build up to counter it? So, the melee infantry you can't counter, but you have stronger cavalry than them. So what you should go for is having a foot companion commander, and also a few more foot companions to match theirs, and maybe throw in some pikes or something like that, maybe something like this, and also throw in some shock cavalry, like one companion cavalry upgraded a bit. And I'm not saying you won't be able to afford it, but this is just an example. Make a lot low, like 3 at least Aspis companion cavalry, and go for a small also missile advantage. And if you really want to, you could use like a sheep, a skirmisher cavalry as these dudes, and that's actually it pretty much. So your infantry, your pikes will be very hard to outflank a bit, and if you want to, you can sacrifice one pikeman for like 2 thorax swords to protect your flanks, and they can easily hold on these dudes, these soldiers a bit, so that you can steamroll their pikemen with the quantity. And even though they have more missiles than you have, you could use your skirmisher cavalry to attack them, and if the enemy moves in their cavalry, then you can just move in your cavalry and destroy them. But important thing, do not let the Ptolemaic cavalry go into wedge formation with the trample ability or something. Do not let them get a good charge on your melee cavalry do not let them charge your melee cavalry when they are not charging and using the trample ability. Then they will just destroy you. But this is actually a pretty good build up to beat Egypt with Macedon. And if it's just a very random build up, let's see. Okay, seems like it was Sparta and Parthia. I just did it blind. Okay, so what can be a standard army for Parthia? Noble horse archers as a general, having a few Parthian swords and mercenary hoplites, maybe something like that, and also a really big focus on archers, and that's a few Royal Persian archers, Parthian archers, and also some Parthian foot archers, and also some cataphracts, blood cavalry, and a unit of sheep horse archers. Something like this will be a decent Parthian army. What about a Spartan army then? Well, your commander needs to be a hero of Sparta, and Parthia will destroy with their missiles. So what will you need to do? Well, their cavalry is completely useless against your infantry, and pikemen are they are not really that good. So maybe some Royal Spartans, a few Spartan hoplites, and a few like Periocore spears, and also like a few sheep skirmisher cavalry. That's kind of like it to actually try to do something against Sparta, but it's gonna be hard. And a match between Rome and Dorvenia. So this is like an impossible battle. Rome is hopeless here. But I'm gonna try to see how you can do it. So so yes, Legatus is the general choice for generals, and infantry. Well, a Praetorian Guard shall be like your main infantry. Then you should be going for a missile advantage. So go for a few Balearic Slingers. Cavalry advantage. Well, you can't beat them in cavalry, so go for a few auxiliary cavalry. And yes, that's pretty much it. So A normal Arvenia build will be an Oath Zone, more Oath Zones, Naked Warriors, Celtic Slingers, and Noble Horse. Kind of like this, maybe. So you might have more. So their infantry will destroy yours, but your missiles will destroy theirs. Their carry will destroy yours. So just use the terrain, use skill to beat the Arvenia. Okay, so Suebi versus let's see, wait. Carthage versus Egypt. So oh wait, Carthage versus Epirus. So you need to think about what are the faction strengths. So against Epirus, what are your strengths? Well, you have the spear infantry advantage. You have the melee advantage. And you do have a missile advantage a bit. So you should go for an elephant general to match up with their. You should go for like 2 elephants, and then a few Iberian cavalry to keep up with them, and also a few Sacred Band. And by the way, Sacred Band, if you don't know, you can actually use Sacred Band to run right through a pikeman, because units that have like over 80 armor, you can use them to run right through the phalanx. And that only applies to phalanxes that are not a guard phalanx, like Hellenic Royal Guard, Bronze Shields, or Foot Companions. But normal pikes, even Thorax pikes, you can just use a unit like has like 95 or 100 armor and just run right through them, and then with your melee skills you can hack them down, because the armor is so high they will resist it. Yes. So this is actually one kind of armor you can bring out. You need this to bring out a few slings too. What will they bring out? Well, they will be very heavy on pikes, and also they won't be really focusing on missiles, but a few slingers they might have. Then they will also have loads of cavalry. So yeah, so it's gonna be a hard battle, but this might be able to bring out, and maybe also a few hoplites. But hope you have enjoyed this video, and I will actually just do a thingy of how you can actually beat a pikeman from the front. So I'm actually gonna do a battle. Foot Companion versus go for a Roman Praetorian. Wait, no. Oh wait, you can just do that. So let's bring again. Oh no, I don't think I have time for this. But hope you have enjoyed this video. Gapak, hope it helped you a lot. Gapak5 signing out. See you next time. Bye bye.